It begins with a whisper, the kind that creeps through private rooms and quiet corridors long before it reaches the public. A whisper Charlie Kirk never wanted the world to hear. A whisper that Candace Owens just ripped wide open, detonating the one secret he guarded more fiercely than his career, his legacy, or even his life. Because when she leaked the DNA truth, the truth Charlie hid from his own team, his own circle, and even the woman sleeping beside him, the internet didn't just gasp, it stopped breathing. Imagine it, a powerful man, adored by millions, suddenly consumed by suspicion so deep he couldn't confide in anyone. A man quietly ordering a DNA test behind closed doors. A man who believed betrayal wasn't coming from enemies, but from his own house, from people touching his children, from people touching his legacy, from people touching places they had no right to touch. Now imagine discovering that Candace Owens was the only person Charlie trusted enough to share those fears with. And imagine realizing she sat on that truth for months until someone tried to silence her. That's when she snapped. And that's when she leaked the note. One note, one confession, one chilling line that has shattered everything America thought it knew about his final months. I don't trust anyone anymore. Not his staff, not his friends, not his circle, not even Erica. And when you hear what pushed him to take that DNA test, when you hear what Candace says they tried to bury, you'll understand why he didn't trust anyone. Not then. Not now. Maybe not ever. This isn't a scandal. It's a warning. And it changes the entire story. In the months before everything fell apart, before the restraining orders, leaked notes, private DNA tests, and the internet meltdown, Charlie Kirk was already unraveling silently, privately, and painfully, in ways no one on the outside ever noticed. To the world, he was the unshakable powerhouse, the unstoppable speaker with fire in his voice, the man who could command a crowd of thousands without breaking a sweat. But behind the applause, behind the cameras, behind the polished speeches, there was a growing heaviness that clung to him like a shadow he couldn't outrun. Those closest to him later said they could feel something shifting. He had grown quieter in meetings, slower in responding to texts, distracted in moments he normally dominated with certainty. One staffer said he would stare at his phone for long stretches of time. Not typing, not scrolling, just thinking. Another said he was sleeping less, pacing more, drinking more coffee than ever. And his conversations, once full of strategy and vision, took a new tone, darker, blurred around the edges, full of questions he never used to ask. "Do you ever feel like people tell you what you want to hear?" he'd ask casually, but his eyes were searching for something deeper. "Do you think loyalty is real, or just an illusion?" They laughed it off as stress, the cost of carrying a political movement on his back. But stress doesn't make a man triple lock his office door. Stress doesn't make a man review internal security footage at 2 in the morning. Stress doesn't make a man request a private meeting with a lawyer, alone, without his wife, without his staff, without a single soul knowing, except Candace Owens. Their bond wasn't the loud, public friendship people believed it was. It was quieter, rooted in late-night calls and shared frustrations. Two people who found themselves surrounded by people they couldn't fully trust. Candace was one of the few who saw the signs early. She saw the way Charlie's tone shifted when he talked about home, how he hesitated, how he softened, how he seemed almost afraid to say certain things out loud. She noticed the pauses when he mentioned Erica. Not angry pauses, not resentful pauses, but uncertain ones. The kind that hint at someone replaying conversations in their mind, looking for inconsistencies, trying to make sense of something that felt wrong, but not knowing what it was yet. There were small comments, too many to ignore. "I just need clarity," he'd say, brushing it off. "I want to be sure about everything." But Candace sensed the weight beneath those words. She sensed the fear he wasn't ready to admit. She sensed he wasn't just talking about work. Something was happening behind the scenes, something heavy enough that Charlie began pulling away from the people around him, including Erica. While Charlie grew more withdrawn, Erica grew more polished, more public, more present in places people didn't expect her to be so soon. She stepped into rooms with an ease that made even insiders raise their eyebrows. She gave speeches with a confidence that didn't match the quiet, supportive wife people had seen for years. There were moments captured on camera, small moments, seconds long, that fans replay now with a different understanding. The way she touched J.D. Vance's arm a little too warmly at an event. The way she smiled a little too brightly on stage just weeks after losing her husband. The way she seemed more focused on her image than her grief. Those moments didn't seem strange back then, but they feel chilling now, like puzzle pieces people didn't know belonged to a larger picture. Charlie felt those shifts before anyone else. He wasn't a man prone to paranoia, but he was a man who trusted his instincts, and those instincts were screaming at him. He started asking quiet questions, digging in places no one expected him to dig. He started watching people more carefully, noticing things he had overlooked before. A staffer lingering too long near his office. A conversation that stopped abruptly when he entered the room. A friend who suddenly became distant. Little things, little cracks. And then, the biggest crack of all. Something so personal, so intimate, so shattering, that he didn't tell a single soul except Candace. The fear that one of his children might not actually be his. That fear didn't come out of nowhere. It came from whispers he overheard, timelines that didn't match, behavior that felt strange, and a gut feeling he couldn't ignore anymore. It ate at him, hollowed him out, made it impossible to sleep. That fear turned him into a man who double-checked every schedule, every alibi, every moment Erica spent away from him. He hated himself for feeling that way. He hated doubting the people he loved. But something inside him told him the truth was hiding beneath layers of silence, and he needed to uncover it, even if the answer destroyed him. Candace remembers the exact night he told her. His voice cracked. He said he felt alone in a room full of people. He said he didn't recognize the life he was living anymore. He said he feared the betrayal wasn't coming. It had already arrived. And so he ordered the DNA test in secret, quietly, alone. No one knew. Not Erica, not his staff, not his circle. Only Candace understood how close he was to breaking. Only she saw the exhaustion etched into his face. Only she knew how deeply he feared the truth. That's why when she received the news after his death, when she saw the inconsistencies, when she saw the silence from the people who should have been grieving, she didn't stay quiet. She knew staying quiet would mean burying the truth Charlie fractured himself trying to uncover. And now, as the truth unravels, the emotion behind Part 2 reveals one thing with painful clarity. Charlie Kirk didn't lose trust in the world by accident. Something, or someone, took it from him. Everything began to unravel the moment Charlie Kirk received the results of his secret DNA test. No one knew it existed. No one knew he had met with a private geneticist. No one knew he had submitted samples behind closed doors, away from Erica, away from the Turning Point headquarters, away from anyone who might ask questions. He did it quietly, like a man carrying a truth too heavy to share. But when the results came back, they didn't bring clarity. They brought more doubt, more questions, more fear than he ever could have anticipated. According to Candace Owens, the results didn't confirm anything. Not fatherhood, not innocence, not betrayal. Instead, they revealed something far worse. The samples had been tampered with, altered, contaminated. Someone had interfered with the test. Someone who had access. Someone who knew what Charlie was doing. Someone who didn't want the truth to come out. And that's when everything in Charlie's world shifted violently. Because this wasn't just about fidelity anymore. This was about conspiracy, sabotage, manipulation on a level he hadn't even considered. Someone was trying to control the narrative of his own family, and they were willing to cross lines he never imagined. Candace said he was shaken, trembling, stunned when he called her that night. She described his voice as destroyed, barely recognizable. He told her he felt surrounded by people wearing masks, performing roles, feeding him lies. He said he couldn't breathe in his own home. He said he didn't trust the test, he didn't trust the process, and he didn't trust the people who suddenly seemed too calm, too rehearsed, too prepared for everything to stay quiet. That was the moment Candace realized this story was bigger than she understood, because Charlie didn't sound like a man dealing with a marital issue. He sounded like a man who had stumbled onto something dangerous. The conflict intensified behind the scenes long before the public suspected a thing. Staff members at TPUSA whispered about Charlie's sudden paranoia. He started arriving at the office earlier and staying later. He took calls outside instead of at his desk. He stopped letting interns touch his personal laptop. He refused to leave his phone unattended. One person claimed he even switched his phone number twice in a single month. And yet, the more he tried to protect himself, the more the people around him tightened their grip. Erica was suddenly making appearances in rooms she never used to be involved in. Decisions that used to require Charlie's sign-off were mysteriously being processed without him. Leadership meetings were happening without his knowledge. Events were planned without his approval. Something, or someone, was shifting the power structure, and he felt it. He felt a storm brewing beneath the surface. He told Candace he feared he was being slowly pushed out of his own empire. But the most disturbing shift wasn't professional. It was personal. It was Erica. Her mood swings, her sudden confidence, her dismissiveness. The long nights she claimed were planning sessions, the trips she didn't explain, the calls she took behind closed doors, the emotional distance, the strange warmth with certain men who had suddenly become part of her inner circle. And yes, the timing. Always the timing. Charlie wasn't oblivious. He saw everything, and he hated himself for seeing it. He hated that it made him question everything he once believed. But the tipping point came on a Thursday afternoon that Candace says changed the tone of everything that followed. Charlie told her he had overheard something, a whispered conversation he wasn't meant to hear. A conversation between Erica and a senior staff member. He didn't reveal all the details, but he said one line haunted him. He doesn't need to know. Charlie said the staff member sounded too relaxed, too familiar, too comfortable speaking to Erica about something they should never have been discussing. He told Candace he felt like he had walked into a room he was never supposed to enter. A room where the people he trusted were planning around him, not with him. The pressure built over weeks until Charlie reached a breaking point. He confronted Erica, quietly, cautiously, without revealing the DNA test, without letting her know how much he already suspected. But her reaction destroyed him. She didn't act confused. She didn't act surprised. She acted angry, defensive, insulted, and then cold. So cold, he later told Candace, "It felt like she hated me." That's when Candace believes Charlie realized something crucial. The emotional connection between them wasn't just weakened, it was severed. The marriage he was trying to protect no longer existed. Still, he didn't tell her about the DNA test. He didn't reveal the tampering. He didn't let her know what he suspected. Why? Because he feared her reaction. He feared what else he might learn. He feared the chain reaction it would ignite inside TPUSA, inside their home, inside his own mind. Days later, Candace says he texted her one chilling sentence: "If something happens to me, tell the truth." And she never forgot it. The conflict reached its peak when leaked internal messages surfaced online, screenshots, anonymous tips, whispers of cover-ups. People began questioning who really held power inside TPUSA, who Erica was meeting with behind the scenes, why certain staff members suddenly had so much influence. The timeline didn't add up. The emotions didn't match. The public face of grief didn't align with the private behavior staff members described. And then came the twist nobody expected. The first official leak. A whistleblower. Someone who had worked within the organization. Someone who claimed Charlie had confided in them too. Someone who said he feared Erica was being influenced or manipulated by someone else. A senior-level figure with deep ties to TPUSA's network. Someone Charlie believed was trying to take control of both the organization and Erica. The whistleblower said Charlie suspected this person was the one who tampered with the DNA test. And when that name, the unnamed senior staffer, started circulating privately among a small group of insiders, everything exploded. Candace Owens had stayed silent out of respect. But when that name reached her, when she compared it to Charlie's private confessions, when she saw how closely that person was positioned next to Erica in the weeks after Charlie's death, she knew she couldn't stay silent any longer. And just like that, the first shocking twist landed. Charlie didn't mistrust Erica alone. He mistrusted an entire chain surrounding her, and one link in that chain was powerful enough to alter a DNA test. And the worst part? That person is still in her inner circle. The moment the unnamed senior staffer's identity began circulating privately among insiders, the entire atmosphere around TPUSA shifted into something colder, darker, almost suffocating. It wasn't just whispers anymore. It was fear. The kind of fear that makes people glance over their shoulders, lower their voices, and text instead of speak, because the wrong word said to the wrong person could destroy their career. Charlie's inner circle, once tight-knit and unified, suddenly fractured into suspicious factions. Some people distanced themselves from Erica entirely, while others clung to her like she was their only lifeline. Meetings that used to feel routine suddenly felt like interrogations. People who once greeted each other with warmth now offered tight smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Candace saw it all from the outside and recognized what was happening immediately. The chain Charlie talked about, the chain of betrayals, the chain of manipulation, the chain of people he no longer trusted, was real. And now that he was gone, the chain was tightening, desperately trying to protect itself. Meanwhile, Erica's behavior only fueled more suspicion. Instead of addressing anything head-on, she became more polished, more scripted, more guarded. Her public statements were flawless. Her social media posts were carefully curated. She started quoting Bible verses, posting inspirational quotes, and cultivating an image of resilience, faith, and feminine strength. But her silence on the real questions, the DNA test, Charlie's suspicions, the restraining order against Candace, turned her into a lightning rod for public doubt. It wasn't just what she said. It was what she refused to say. Every quiet moment looked like strategy. Every smile looked like rehearsed damage control. Every appearance beside high-level political figures looked like positioning. Behind the scenes, however, something even stranger was happening. Staff members described moments where Erica would disappear into private rooms with the very senior staffer Charlie had allegedly feared. Closed-door meetings that ran late, conversations she didn't explain, soft laughter heard through walls, a closeness that felt out of place for a grieving widow. And then came the conference where every suspicion spiraled into a public spectacle. Erica stepped on stage in a fitted red suit that caught every camera angle. The crowd roared. She looked confident, almost glowing. Then she introduced J.D. Vance with a warmth that made the internet pause. The smile, the tone, the phrasing. Every second felt too polished, too intimate, too performed. And then came the hug. The hug that detonated the internet like gasoline meeting an open flame. The way she placed her hand behind his head. The way he pulled her closer with one arm. The way their faces lingered a moment too long. TikTok edited it from every angle. Slow motion. Frame by frame, zoomed in. And suddenly, millions of viewers felt what Charlie must have felt in his final months. Something wasn't right. But the second twist didn't come from Erica. It didn't come from J.D. It came from a source no one expected. The leaked audio file. A distorted, grainy recording allegedly from a conversation inside TPUSA headquarters. The voice was unmistakably Charlie's, shaken, haunted, half-whispered. "I'm being replaced," he said. Not professionally, personally. Those 5 words hit the internet like an emotional bomb. People speculated for hours. Replaced by who? Replaced in what way? Was he talking about his home, his marriage, his leadership, his children, his legacy? Then the clip continued. The DNA test was compromised. Someone changed it. Someone close. That was when people realized this wasn't paranoia. This wasn't a man imagining shadows. This was a man discovering a truth he wasn't supposed to see. And right after that audio leaked, Candace Owens dropped the second major twist. One she said she had held back out of respect but could no longer keep quiet. She revealed the existence of a second test. A test Charlie allegedly ordered after realizing the first one had been tampered with. A test he kept hidden, buried, untraceable. A test he intended to retrieve just days before he died. Candace didn't reveal the results, but she said enough to send the entire scandal into another spiral. Charlie found something big, something that made him change his will. The world froze. Change his will? When? Why? What did he discover? And who did he tell besides Candace? Because if Charlie truly changed his will, then financial and legal motives suddenly entered the picture. Motives that could link directly to the chain of betrayal he suspected. Motives that could explain why someone tampered with his DNA test. Motives that could explain why certain people close to him acted the way they did after his death. Calm, controlled, almost rehearsed. The escalation grew worse when insiders leaked details about a sudden emergency meeting held days after Charlie's passing. No public announcement, no memorial planning, no expressions of grief. Instead, the meeting focused on leadership structure, financial accounts, and legal documents. Staff members said Erica entered the room as if she already knew her role. She took charge effortlessly, delegating tasks with the confidence of someone who had been preparing, not reacting. And the senior staffer Charlie feared? They were seated beside her, advising her, supporting her, almost guiding her. Then, the final blow of Part 4 came from another whistleblower, this one anonymous but verified by multiple sources. They claimed to have seen a document, one Charlie had drafted, not finalized, expressing concern that someone close to him was blurring boundaries with Erica and exerting unusual influence over family decisions. The document didn't name the person, but it didn't need to. Insiders already knew who it pointed to. The same person who had access to labs, access to documents, access to Erica, access to Charlie's world in a way no one could explain. And the whistleblower's final message was the most chilling. Charlie didn't fear strangers. He feared the people who stood closest to him. The moment Candace's revelation about the second DNA test hit the internet, everything that had been simmering in the background erupted into a full-blown public wildfire. There wasn't a single corner of social media untouched. Twitter exploded with threads connecting dots that had been ignored for months. TikTok flooded with conspiracy edits, side-by-side comparisons of Erica's behavior before and after Charlie's death, freeze-frame analyses of the J.D. Vance hug that now, in hindsight, looked far too intimate to be coincidence. Instagram pages that normally posted makeup tutorials suddenly became crime boards, trying to map out who had access to Charlie's personal documents. Even Reddit, which had mostly mocked the drama before, turned deadly serious as users compiled timelines, insider reports, and strange inconsistencies that suddenly seemed sinister. People started asking questions loudly, questions Erica refused to answer. Why was she so calm in the White House video? Why did she go silent for days after Candace demanded transparency? Why did she shift her public image overnight from grieving widow to polished political figure? Why did she stand beside the man Charlie allegedly mistrusted the most? And why, if she had nothing to hide, did she try to legally silence the one person Charlie confided in? Every quiet moment from her now looked like manipulation. Every polished speech looked like PR coaching. Every Bible verse she posted looked like a shield rather than faith. Meanwhile, at TPUSA, the emotional fallout was far more devastating than anything online. Former staff members began unfollowing Erica in waves. A few even posted cryptic messages. He deserved better. Some truth can't stay buried. We saw the signs. One anonymous employee told a podcast that the energy inside the organization had become chilling, that nobody trusted anyone, that people were whispering in hallways like they were living in a political thriller. They said Erica walked around with an aura of control, like she had already won the game and everyone else was just catching up. Candace, on the other hand, became both hero and villain overnight. Supporters flocked to her, thanking her for honoring Charlie's last wish and revealing what he tried to expose. Critics tried to discredit her, calling her emotional, unstable, irrational. But the more they attacked her, the more people felt she must be telling the truth. After all, if she was lying, why was the inner circle scrambling so hard? Why were statements suddenly coordinated? Why were lawyers suddenly involved? Why was Erica suddenly shifting blame toward grief instead of facts? And that's when the emotional weight of the entire scandal truly hit. People realized Charlie had died, feeling alone, betrayed, and unsure of the very people who now spoke on his behalf. That realization shattered the audience. It wasn't just political drama anymore. It was heartbreak. It was a man reaching for help in his final months, only to be surrounded by people he couldn't trust. And once the public saw it, they couldn't unsee it. Supporters who once defended Erica began turning their backs. Comment sections on her posts turned brutal. Why won't you address the test? What are you hiding? Charlie deserved the truth. Meanwhile, the unnamed senior staffer, the one insiders whispered about, began scrubbing their online presence, deleting photos with Erica, restricting comments, pulling down old interviews. People noticed instantly, and instead of quieting the storm, it made everything worse. Now the public believed they had their villain, and whether they were right or wrong, the perception was powerful enough to reshape the entire scandal. Donors quietly stepped back. Family friends distanced themselves. Even politicians who once praised Erica stopped mentioning her name. And in the middle of this all, the emotional core of the story, Charlie's children, became the one topic nobody could ignore. TikTokers began posting emotional edits of Charlie with his kids, adding captions like, "He just wanted the truth. He didn't deserve this." The DNA test wasn't paranoia. It was protection. The entire internet shifted from spectator to advocate, demanding justice, demanding transparency, demanding the truth Charlie fought for. But the heaviest emotional fallout belonged to the people who knew him personally. Several of his close friends broke their silence, posting messages hinting they had been concerned for months, but didn't realize how deep his fear went. One wrote, "He told me something was wrong. I wish I had listened harder." Another posted, "He was scared, and he shouldn't have been alone in that." These posts shattered what little defense Erica had left. They painted a picture of a man everyone loved, everyone admired, everyone depended on. And yet, no one saved. And then, when people thought the scandal couldn't grow any darker, a journalist dropped one final bombshell in a late-night post. The second DNA test Charlie ordered was never retrieved because someone else picked it up. The message ended with one chilling line: "We know who signed for it." And just like that, the stage was set for the biggest twist yet. It happened in the darkest hour of the scandal, when the internet was still reeling from the revelation that someone else had picked up Charlie's second DNA test, when speculation was spiraling out of control and every name in his inner circle was being dissected like evidence in a federal investigation. But nothing, not one theory, came close to the truth that detonated next. Late one night, an investigative journalist dropped a quiet post, barely a paragraph long, but powerful enough to send millions into chaos. The signature that retrieved Charlie's second DNA test did not belong to a random staffer or a family friend or even someone inside TPUSA. It belonged to someone with legal authority, someone with home access, someone who had direct control over Charlie's personal records, someone who lived in his house. The signature belonged to Erica Kirk. The internet froze. Thousands of comments in seconds, videos in minutes. And then, the second part of the leak. The DNA test wasn't just picked up by Erica. It was opened. And once opened, it became invalid. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't confusion. The courier had taken her ID. The lab had photographed the envelope being broken. She hadn't just picked it up. She had intercepted it. And that moment, that single betrayal, reframed everything Charlie felt in his final months. It explained why he grew distant, why he felt unsafe, why he whispered fears instead of saying them aloud, why he reached for Candace instead of his own wife. And then came the twist that made the entire world gasp. An audio recording, allegedly from the lab, leaked anonymously. Mrs. Kirk told us Mr. Kirk would not be needing the results anymore. People screamed. Forums crashed. Even seasoned journalists admitted they had never seen a scandal flip this violently. Had Erica known what Charlie feared? Did she already know the truth? Was she protecting him or protecting herself? Every theory went from possible to terrifying instantly. And just when the world thought it was over, Candace Owens came back online with the most chilling revelation of the entire saga. She posted a screenshot, just one, of a note Charlie wrote in the weeks before his death. It wasn't addressed to his team. It wasn't addressed to friends. It wasn't addressed to Candace. It was addressed to his lawyers, and it contained one sentence that sent a shockwave through the entire internet. If anything happens to me, she knows why. No name, no details, no explanation, just that. And as people reread it, breathed it in, tried to understand what he meant, Candace posted the caption that turned a scandal into a full-blown mystery. This wasn't paranoia. This was preparation. Fans lost their minds. Comments flooded in. People demanded answers. Politicians were forced to make statements. Journalists began asking questions about the investigation. Why had certain evidence gone missing? Why were timelines inconsistent? Why were certain individuals shielded? Why were cameras removed from the courtroom? Why did Erica grow more powerful the moment Charlie fell? Why did she move into his position with such speed and confidence? Why was the restraining order against Candace filed at the exact same time rumors about the DNA test began surfacing? But the final twist wasn't the note. It wasn't the signature. It wasn't the envelope. It came 48 hours later when an anonymous whistleblower posted one final message. Charlie's second DNA test wasn't the last one. The internet went still. The whistleblower continued. There is a third test, unopened, untouched, hidden, and the person who knows where it is hasn't spoken yet. The internet instantly erupted into searches, theories, accusations, and panic. Who had the third test? Was it a family member? A staff member? Candace herself? Was it hidden intentionally to protect Charlie? Or to expose someone else? And then the whistleblower vanished, deleting every account, every post, leaving the world with one final line that sealed the cliffhanger. The truth didn't die with Charlie. Someone still holds it. Everything went silent. Erica vanished from the internet. Candace refused interviews. TPUSA froze communication. And the audience realized this story wasn't ending. It was only getting darker. And now you see it. The silence, the secrecy, the vanishing accounts, the intercepted DNA test, the note Charlie left behind, the whistleblower who dropped the final message and disappeared into the shadows, all of it pointing to one terrifying truth. This story is nowhere near finished. And the people who tried to bury Charlie's last questions are running out of places to hide. The internet is demanding answers. Candace is refusing to back down. Erica has vanished offline at the exact moment the pressure hit its highest peak. And somewhere out there, someone is holding the third test. The only piece of evidence untouched, unaltered, unclaimed, uncorrupted. The one thing that could finally expose what Charlie feared, what he suspected, and what he may have died trying to confirm. So now, I'm asking you, who do you think has the final test? Who signed for the second one? Who was Charlie warning us about? And most importantly, why would someone risk everything to keep that truth from surfacing? Drop your theories in the comments, because this case is spiraling into territory nobody expected. Make sure you hit like, smash subscribe, and turn on all notifications because The next chapter is already unfolding behind the scenes. New leaks, new whistleblowers, and new evidence that could blow this entire case wide open. Trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. The truth didn't die with Charlie. Someone is still holding it. And when they speak, the whole world is going to feel the aftershock. Stay tuned.